Hi, this is Dan Devlin for the Detective Dan Devlin Show, Honorable People, Honorable Nation. Welcome to our show. Today, we're going to talk about execution. It might not be quite what you're thinking, but we're going to deal with effective execution. And a lot of people I hang around with would say, oh, that's exactly what's in order for many people today, because of what's happening in American society. And I would tend to agree that with what certain officials are doing, coupled with many people who are stirring the pot, so to speak, and are upset about what's happening with American society, they're failing to get together to focus on narrow issues to actually get things done, to execute what needs to be done. You know, it's a tragic thing to have spent so much of your life fighting for what at least our founders expressed we are supposed to be about in the American experience, only to find out that we're being undermined by the very people who we put in office in order to accomplish what is good for the general public. In other words, actually represent the people that they've been put in office by us to represent us. I received a telephone call today from an individual who was very frustrated. He's from my era. He's a veteran of the Vietnam conflict or war, whichever you choose. And he was very upset, as I often am, at the direction that we're headed as a nation. Most of you realize we have many, many people out in American society who want all the benefits, the blessings of liberty, I might add, that are supposed to be the object of the establishment of the Constitution and this nation. But few, very, very, very few, are willing to pay any cost, and certainly not a substantial cost, for making sure that we accomplish those goals. Now, if you've been watching this program, you know that I'm about fundamentals. And you know that the fundamental principle of the Constitution is expressed in what I call the statement of purpose of the Constitution, which some people call the preamble, which actually means a statement of purpose. And you also know, and I'm not going to avoid addressing this, and I address it on many of the programs that I do, that the fundamental purpose is to secure the blessings of liberty. And of course I mention the two groups, one of which is ourselves, the other is our posterity, which is all our descendants until the end of time, certainly including our unborn descendants in the womb. Now, I belong to an organization that claims to be individuals who are going to honor their oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. If you go to a meeting, you'll hear people shout and express their opinion that we need to get people, officials, to do what they're supposed to do. We'll go to a rally and we'll shout and holler and say, oh, you're doing this bad thing. You, in the area of gun control, you're taking guns away from the good and decent people. But this program is about execution. And no, I'm not suggesting that we go and execute the officials who are violating their oath of office, at least not yet. But it's about executing what we have within our power to do and what we have a responsibility to do, especially if we've taken an oath to defend the Constitution, in order to actually have our officials do what we have elected them to do. Now, those guidelines that they have to follow are within their own personal oath of office. And that oath of office, of course, indicates that they will support and defend, protect, or preserve, whatever words that they use, the Constitution of the United States of America. And yet, when it comes to the Second Amendment, for example, which, again, you probably realize, it says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, those are plain words. And I remind people, some people, of course, say it's about a militia. Others say, oh, it's about possessing firearms. And you've heard me talk about this. It's really about security. In order to be secure, that's a core portion of that Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. It's about security. In order to be secure, you must have the availability of those tools that allow you to be secure, which for the most part are firearms, so you can, if necessary, form a militia. You don't have to ask your government officials if I can go possess a gun so I can belong to a militia who is going to stand against you because you're violating your oath of office and our rights as people of the United States. But it's up to us to determine what are we going to do about that. It's about executing what we need to do, meeting our responsibility. Forget about what they're doing. If they're violating their oath, it's up to us to hold their feet to the fire, so to speak, to make sure that they don't continue to violate their oath. And why do they continue to do it? They continue to do it because we allow them to do it. And many people, even with the group called Oath Keepers, they say, oh, well, you know, we can't do certain things. For example, I have suggested, why do you pay people who are violating their oath? Why do you continue to pay them in order to stay in office that they have essentially resigned from because they failed to adhere to the conditions that restrict their behavior, which is their oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America? Why do you do that? No one in their right mind would continue to pay someone. If they come to your house and they say, you hire somebody to pave your driveway, and they come over and they say, well, I know we're supposed to be doing that, but I think your landscaping needs to be addressed. And I don't like it, so I'm going to do that. And it's going to cost X numbers of dollars. And you'd look around saying, hey, is this person for real? And then you actually go ahead and pay them. And does your driveway ever get done? No, it doesn't. Now, we know that's bordering on insanity. But that's exactly what we do with officials when we put them in office and they violate their oath of office. They infringe on the rights and hinder the responsibilities of the people who they are there to serve, and we keep paying them. Can anyone give me any justification for continuing to funnel money into these corrupt individuals who we allow to stay in office? You know, being effective, executing what we know what needs to be done in order to correct what's wrong with American society is what this particular program is about. And if you're not willing to do the things that can be effective, then you are to blame for the continuation of the wrong that's being done. And I'll refer us back to the fact that we allow men to go off to war, and we fail to protect their unborn descendants in the womb, their posterity, while they're off defending us. Where is the sanity in that? Where is the loyalty in that? We talk about dedication to men in particular who have served in the armed forces, who have risked their lives, given their limbs, their sanity, their sight, and even their life, and we say that we're going to be loyal to you, and we allow the destruction of their unborn descendant in the womb, who's named in the Constitution, that is insanity, and it only occurs because we lack the courage, the moral commitment to do what each of us knows is absolutely right and absolutely according to the U.S. Constitution. Well, the same thing happens when you look at the Second Amendment and you look at many of the other things that are going on in American society. Officials will do what they want to do unless we draw the line and make sure that they do what they're supposed to do and do not infringe upon the rights and the obligations of others. The situation with execution is that unless we can do that effectively, and in order to do it effectively, we need to be on the same page. We're too few to be going off on our own. Not that it can't be accomplished, but it takes much longer, and it's mostly more apt to be not accomplished when we're working as individuals on our own. I talk to many people who tell me how patriotic they are. And I ask them, and we'll go back to the Second Amendment, why do men give up their Second Amendment rights and obligation? And I say obligation because the Second Amendment exists so good and decent men in particular can defend not only themselves, but their community and their state and their nation, and certainly their family. And that is an obligation that we have as men to our family and our community. But when people who are in office keep the good people from possessing the firearms that can keep them secure, we have to ask, why would they do that? Well, I can tell you why they do that. And the gentleman that I spoke to early today, I expressed to him when he said, well, what can we do? Can Oath Keepers do anything? Everybody else is so ineffective. Of course we can do something. The question is, will we do it? Will we do what can be effective? And if officials are watching this program, they will fear what I say because they know that it can be effective, but they're counting on you to stay in your homes, to gripe and complain, to call people names, to blame someone else other than themselves, fail to look at themselves and their responsibility to their families, their community, their state, and their nation. They're counting on them to take that approach regardless of what I say. So until you can determine that you're not going to take this anymore, and for you to determine that you're going to work with us, and you can contact me at dan@FundamentalHumanRights.Org. You can contact me at info@honorablepeoplehonorablenation.org. You can contact me in many ways. There are many people who know how to get a hold of me and would know my phone number. And you can let me know, you can contact, I might as well tell you, if you go to NewYorkOathKeepers.org, you'll find my phone number there. And you can call me, but don't call me unless you're willing to do what it takes in order to win. This program is about not only execution, but effective execution. And at my age, I have no desire to go ahead and play these games any longer. There are too many people who all of a sudden in their life, they say, oh, I have to do something. And so they come up with some idea, and they say, well, I'm going to do it this way. Instead of going to those who have been fighting these battles, who have been through many of the things that other people are saying, oh, we could do this and we could do that, we've already done it. And why hasn't it worked? We know. We can tell you, I can tell you why it doesn't work. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that we have people who don't have the courage to follow through. Many of the politicians know that they can outlast you. They can create laws. In fact, you should know that laws are created in order to confound you, in order to make a particular firearm and what they would call a, quote, illegal firearm simply because it has a particular appearance. It functions basically the same way as another firearm that they're allowing to be completely legal. But because they want to control the appearance of things, because they want to chip away at your fundamental human right, forget about the Constitution. Every single one of you, if you're a good and decent person, you have the right and the responsibility to possess those firearms in order to make sure that you are safe so you can take care of your family and so your family can protect itself and you can protect your community, your state, and your nation if need be. We've lived in a society for too long that has been fairly peaceful. But in recent years, you know that there are people out there who not only can be organized in their method of trying to harm as many people as possible, but they can be even funded by international organizations. You know, we see where people from other countries are coming to our borders and they're saying that they have some right to go ahead and come in and be part of this nation even though they weren't born here. They have no connection to this society whatsoever, but they're going to tell us what to do. And you have the Democrat Party, and yes, I'll name them, who will stand up and say, oh, we have to care about these people. If you care so much about these people, I want to see you, every single Democrat out there, put your name on a list and your address on a list, and you start taking in these people into your family, into your home. And if you don't do that, then quite obviously we know that you're a hypocrite and you want to do only one thing, and that is to destroy American society and get these people to come in because you know that they'll eventually be voters for you. Well, we have a governor who says that people who have been convicted of very serious crimes should be allowed to vote, and he does that because he knows that they're going to most likely vote for some Democrat. These people are not friends of the people, the honorable people of our society. They are your enemy. And we need to recognize that, and we need to do something about it. But they will win every single time unless you get off that couch or refuse to go to that sports game or take the time away from your child in whatever sport he's involved in, or simply make the honorable commitment to say, I am not going to leave this planet, and know that I didn't do something positive in order to respect this whole concept of establishing justice and securing the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity. This is a solemn obligation that each of us has. I don't care if you've been in the military, whether you've been in law enforcement, whether you've ever taken an oath. In order for you to be justifiably part of this nation, sure, we can say you've been born here and maybe your relative did something great. But it's about you doing what you need to do. And when you don't do it, you are the enemy of those who will work to establish an honorable, a just society that is meant to hold up the good and decent person and to punish those who are doing things that hurt the innocent. None of this is rocket science. You know, it's all about our decisions and your willingness to follow those who are willing to lead and not to go off on your own and say, okay, we're going to do it this way. Wisdom takes time in life to accomplish. And those who have been in the battle fighting the opposition, the politicians, law enforcement agencies in some respects, where individuals are doing things that are wrong. Who stands up? Who says you cannot do this? This is against what we're supposed to be doing. Addressing the courts. We know why the system runs the way it runs. And we know what it takes in order to change it. But it'll never change if we don't have the commitment, if you don't make a decision to stand up and fight together in order to accomplish these goals. We can't do everything at once, but we need to focus on very particular issues and make a personal commitment that we will fight to our dying day in order to make sure that we correct this evil that is going on in American society. I oftentimes talk to many people and they talk about certain issues and don't seem to care about others. And even the people who are implementing programs such as undermining our right and responsibility to keep and bear arms, our religious rights and responsibilities within American society. And when I ask those people, why are they doing this, oftentimes they don't even know. It's because the people that they've chosen to follow have set a direction and they're blindly willing to follow and do whatever it takes. Well, we can give you the reasons why we take the course of action that we take. And I seldom deal with any people. My most staunch opponents will stand there and agree that the positions that I take are correct. And if they were the victims of whatever the issue is, they would want to make sure that the path that I suggest is followed because it would be in their best interest. And yet oftentimes they still go back and they support the people who are undermining the exact goals that they could see if it was applied to them, it would never be just. This is about execution. Greg, do we have a time on this? 5 minutes. Okay, folks, we have 5 minutes left. In 5 minutes, I've got to convince you to stand up, and I'm talking to men in particular. There are many law enforcement people, there are many current and ex-police officers. You guys are the core of what this country needs to be about. You've all taken an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. But you need to be able to work together, put down your petty differences, focus on what we know, what we can personally explain, and you will see the path to success. You'll admit that it's correct, but we need to have the courage to stick together, and if we do that, we can hold the officials accountable. And my position, as you should know, is that they have given up their position in office because they have failed to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. We can make that stick, but we cannot do it if we are not willing to stick together in order to make this happen. So I can talk until I finally pass away, and I'll probably do that, by the way, because the voices of wisdom and sense must prevail if we're going to win. This is about execution, effective execution of the plans that not we have set down, but our founding fathers have set down in order to establish, and they did establish, this nation to be an honorable nation, to be one where not only you, but your children and your grandchildren can live in freedom, can have the opportunity to be the good and honorable people that I would like to think we all should be. And those of you who are violating your oath, those politicians, those officials who are going in a different direction, at least have the courage to go do something else in life. Because this is a warning to you. And I'm a Bible-believing individual who believes that we will be held accountable. And the dear Lord advises us through Scripture that it is by your works that you will be judged and you will be known. And by you being aware of this violation, this lie that you're involved in undermining what you have taken an oath to preserve, protect, and defend, when you know that, you are risking, and I might as well say it, according to Scripture, what we know as an eternity in hell. Now that's my view, you can accept it or not. But I'm here to tell you that the good and decent people of the United States, if we decide to work together, and that's my plea, we can accomplish making sure that we're an honorable people for an honorable nation. You can contact me at dan@honorablepeoplehonorablnation.org. And now it's in your hands. I've done everything I can, and I will continue to do that. But you're needed now, and you need to make that decision now. So God bless you all. I hope God inspires you to take hold of your life and understand that your sons and your daughters and your grandchildren and their children are depending upon you to have the courage to stand and fight for what is right. And we can be effective if you will make the commitment to do what needs to be done in order to get that to happen. It's all up to you. God bless you all. I hope you all have a nice day.